Welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be having a look at Thorchain's RUNE. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. Before we jump into the lower time frame counts, we were discussing in the previous video the potential of this developing as a 5-wave move, and that has actually played out. Now the key difference here between these counts is going to be what happens next. If this is a corrective count where this is an ABC, or alternatively even from further back here we can count this as ABC, the expectation is then that we're going to actually move down and break these lows. However, there is a bullish count from this point where we could be looking for continuation up. Now within that idea, what we'd be saying is that this move has completed here in between this 0.382 and this 50%, which is common for a complex correction. The problem I have with this count is it is not very neat in the way that it counts, but it is still technically possible to count this as W, X, Y, X, and Z. The time relationships are not great though between the waves, so it's not my primary expectation. Now with this idea here, what we'd be looking for would be a bigger bullish 5-wave structure to the upside, looking to attack these highs again. Now we're going to go over what would need to happen for that to play out after we just talk about the bearish scenarios. Now within this bearish scenario, what we were saying is that we have this as an A wave completed here, and within this idea, this internal move here would be a potential flat correction. Now the most common target area is this 565 to this 274. We haven't quite reached this yet, so because of that reason I'm still not convinced that this is actually completed. But if we do actually look to reject from this point here, it is still possible that this could actually just be a shallower corrective move. If we look at this as the A wave, technically speaking, it has taken that area. So we need to just be aware that if this move does start to move down from where we currently are, we could be looking at a move down here between this 0.618 to this 1-to-1. So that would be between this 37 cents to this 13-cent level. Now the 0.618 would be the minimum requirement in this, and we'd be expecting to see a 5-wave move down. Now it is however also possible we could get a 3-wave move to the downside, and then this would actually become W, X, and Y. But we'll have to keep an eye on this, because as long as we actually hold this low here, we do have the potential to actually see price looking to rally to the upside. The alternative to this would actually be looking at this move as truncating in its previous 5th wave into this point here, in which case we're looking for the same idea here as an ABC. The distance would be slightly different, and that 0.618 would actually be here at this 0.57. So if we do see price develop a bigger 5-wave move to the downside here, going to be keeping an eye on these levels. This would be potentially looking to bring us back down towards this 0.382 level here, and then we do this would be potentially looking to bring us back down into this 50% level here. And then we do also have some lower targets over here. The golden pocket and the 786 would be that lowest one over there. So because of that, we need to just be aware there is still potential here for continuation to the downside. We're going to have to see whether price actually continues to respect this low, or whether we start to see impulsive price action to the downside. Now in the previous video we were talking about the potential here that we could be looking for something like a 5-wave structure for as long as we held this 167 to this 135 level. Now we did see price actually move up into this higher level here, and this could then potentially mean that we are actually completed here, and that this move is looking to start to move down. Now if this 5-wave move is part of that ABC pattern as a flat, we would expect this low to get broken of the 0781. Now if we are however looking at this move as a bigger impulse here, what we could start to see is that this whole move here could actually just become our wave 1, and then we'd be looking for a 3-wave structure to the downside. So this support zone here is going to be very important here. I have also included this 0.382 here at this 138, but the most common area would be between this 50% and this 786. If we do continue to hold this level, we can potentially look for that possibility that we could see a bigger rally to the upside in this wave 3 here at towards this 490 to confirm. Now that would be based off of coming into this golden pocket, which would be this $1.11 to this $1.08. If we do look to actually get a bigger retracement down here, I'm going to be looking out for this possibility of this bigger impulse to the upside. Now there is an alternate way we can look at this. If we want to argue that this C wave is slightly different here, we could also say that we are still within the 4th wave. Now this is because the time comparison between this wave 2 and this wave 4 is still within the common area here. We have just achieved, or almost achieving, 2 times the length of this wave 2. So if we just look at this move as basically an A, B, and a C to the downside, this could actually mean that our 4th wave completes here, and we could look to rally up in a 5th wave. Though currently the structure is not looking that great for this idea. If we still continue to hold this 135, I am going to be looking out for the potential that if we start to develop 5-wave structure to the upside here, this could be a 5th wave that still needs to play out. So if we do see that, then that would align with pushing back up into the zone of this 245 to this zone of this $2.17. Now, within the other count here, we're saying that if we complete into this high, what we could start to see is a bigger 3-wave move. Now, what I would be looking for with this would be something along these lines here, where effectively what we have is that this move to the downside is either a wave 1 or a wave, and then we're looking for this B wave to the upside. Now, it is possible that this B wave is incomplete, and we could be looking for an additional push up here towards this 0.786 to this 0.382, but we have moved into this zone already. So it is also possible that this could be A, B, and then we could look to break down for that C wave. As long as we remain below this zone of this 179, we could start to see price form something like this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, the key thing within this is that if this actually only moves down towards this 1-to-1 level here of this $1.18, then potentially this could be just a corrective move. If, however, we move past this 0.90, this would then align with a bigger impulse looking to form to the downside. So we need to be very careful of this idea, because off of these highs, until we push back above this zone of this 226, we need to be very careful of this idea of an impulse forming to the downside like this. And that would align with the idea of this basically being that flat, where this move is actually a C wave high, and then we look to break down in a continuation for that higher degree 5-wave move to the downside. So this is what I'm looking out for at the moment. If we do continue to hold this higher level here, we could look at the potential for this additional 5th wave. If we lose this 135, then the bullish count would be looking for potential support to come in here between this $1.38 to this zone of this 95 cents. If we start losing 95 cents, the probabilities start to increase, so we're going to lose this low here of this 78 cents. And if we do that, by then we've probably going to have looked to confirm the idea here of this 1618. So this is why this 1618 level is going to be very important. For as long as we actually remain below this invalidation point, we could be looking at something along these lines. Like I said, there is the potential here that we could see an additional push to the upside here, where this move here just becomes our A wave. We have this as a B wave, and we could start to form a 5-wave move to the upside, where this move is our wave 1. We look for a retracement back down here towards this 157 to this 153 level, and then look for a continuation to the upside in this 3rd wave. 184 would be off of this 50%, which would be coming back up into the highs of this little bit of a consolidation area that we've got over here. So if we do see price come back down, find support and push up past this 1618, this would also align quite nicely with pushing up between the 1-to-1 and the 1236 of this A wave. So going to be keeping an eye on this level up here. If we do see this as an A, a B, and a C, then potentially this could still align with the idea of just being a wave 2. If, however, after we form this 5-wave move here, we get 3 waves back down and we actually fail to take this low, then we could actually start talking about that possibility of this move being a 1, this being a 2, and then we're actually looking for that 5th wave to play out to the upside. Coming in and having a look at the daily CPR lines, what we can see is we started the day below these central lines. We came in, we found support, and then we've moved up. We've actually hit our R3 line already. If we do continue to hold this level as support here, potentially this 161 could be an additional leg here. We could possibly see price looking to move back up towards this 169. If, however, we are completed into this high, what I will be looking for, which would align with the idea that we are still looking for this as a wave 2, would be that possibility of moving back down here and looking to test some of these lower levels. this 157, and these central lines between this 154 and this 152 are going to be interesting zones if we are looking at this as a wave 2. Alternatively, if we lose these central lines, other targets to the downside would be this 149. We have 145, 141, and this 137 as possible downside targets should we lose those central lines. Moving over and having a look at the weekly CPR lines, what we can see is that we started this week above. We actually hit the R1 line. We came through the central lines and we moved down to our S1 line. Now we have actually moved back above these central lines. If we continue to hold these levels of this 163 to this 159 area, we could potentially see price continue. Now I would still be looking out for that potential. We could see a retracement through this level and then something to the upside. If, however, we see a much shallower retracement, then potentially some of these lines could actually be the point where we find that support higher up here. Now, if we do look to continue to move it up here, we do have the potential to retest this 176, 187, and this $2 area for the remainder of this week. If, however, we continue to reject to the downside, I will be looking out for the potential to retest this 150. Other target areas for this week would be 135 and this 124 to the downside. Now, moving over here and having a look at the monthly CPR lines, what we can see is that we are actually underneath our central lines. We moved up into this and we actually rejected, and we've come back down to our S1 line. Once again, if we do move back up here, there's potential to find resistance here between this 172, 179, and this 186 level. This would align quite nicely with the idea of seeing this move push back up here as a B wave or a wave 2. As we can see here, that 1-to-1 would put us quite well within these levels. So going to be keeping an eye on these lines if we do look to move to the upside. If we do, however, fail to achieve this and we continue to break down, other targets for this month that are open would be this $1.18 and this 95 cents. If we do look to move back above these central lines, this then opens up the potential here that we could look to target some of these higher levels here. This 215, 244, 239, and this level here of this 274. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video. Leave us some feedback down below, and also in the description you will find a link to the Discord. Come check it out, it is free to join. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.